visibilities. We haven't had a whole lot of problems, and we didn't expect a whole lot of problems. That's the good news. Now, there could still be some places off to our north and east that pick up a measurable snow. Here in Louisville, we'll do good to get a dusting. Much of it's melting as it hits, but we have seen some of your pictures, especially over toward Trimble County, Carroll County. Some places have a nice little coating of snow, maybe upwards. I know I saw one report, a half an inch down in parts of Anderson County.
Yeah, and areas just to our north near Indianapolis received quite a bit of snow, 2+ inches up there. Had a report from Ball State of 4 inches of very heavy, wet snow. Nothing on the roads up there, so travel even to our north overnight is fine. Roads are just wet, as you see here from our New Albany SkyTrack camera.
Yeah, we've got just a few folks jumping in, and if you're at home, like, yeah, let's just check in and see what the weather's going to be like. We like to do these on alert days just to give you an idea of what to expect, because we don't want people to panic. This isn't a press the panic alarm. No, this is just, hey, let's settle in. Let's talk about what's happening, good or bad. So if you're a snow fan, jump in and let us know. And if you're a sunny and 72 kind of person, then, we've had a little bit for everybody this week.
We don't press the panic button very often around here.
No, we try not to. No, it's like the less drama station right here. So let's ease on into it. What are folks saying? Let's take a few and then we'll get into the radar.
Well, we got Muhammad here. And Muhammad, by the way, I got your video earlier.
Oh, that was nice. I saw that.
We showed it on TV from
Charlestown. I was thinking Indiana.
He's in Floyd's Knobs now. He says still going strong with the snow there, and he's watching on YouTube. So we appreciate you watching on YouTube there. We've got a channel here watching from Evansville. Kathy on YouTube says, bots bring on the snow.
I don't know about that. That's a Brian Good deal. Now, if he were here, and maybe he'll chime in if he's home and watching, but today, have you noticed? I mean, most days Brian's, he's an easygoing kind of guy. So he's kind of quiet most days. Today, I mean, you would have thought it was Christmas for a, 5-year-old kid.
He turned into a completely different person.
It was nuts. I was like, hey, it's like a dusting, dude.
Yes.
He loves the snow.
He really does. I mean, we all like snow to some degree, but he takes it too.
I'm glad it makes him happy. I think it does the opposite to me. I become a little more grumpy when it snows, I think.
The only thing Kevin wants to see on the ground is sand and water.
That would be nice.
Yes.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we never have that.
No, here's the deal. Hey, we've got a comment here from an anonymous user on YouTube saying the Wave Weather app is showing snow, but it's not snowing in Louisville, though. We've had some issues today where it's snowing, but it doesn't make it all the way down to the ground because of some dry air just above our heads here, kind of eating that snow like Pac-Man. Nom, 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 nom. So it doesn't necessarily make it to the ground unless it's snowing hard enough to overcome that little dry layer of air. So we've seen that at points today. And we've also seen some holes in the snow as well. So it'll stop snowing for a few minutes, then pick back up again. This isn't like this sort of homogeneous, like wall of snow moving in. No.
Homogeneous, cranking out.
Oh, yes.
Fancy words.
Yeah.
Well, I was looking at the app because here's the deal. We know a lot of you get the information from the app, so it's important that it's right. It's why we have the highest app rating, because we actually listen to you. And I was looking at it. A lot of times what trips people up is this button in the bottom corner too. That has to be on, which doesn't make any sense, frankly, but it has to be on future. Past. Sorry. Yeah. Mine. Now,
he's confused.
Well, it's because it makes no sense. Like you think the past would make sense.
Make sure that button says past on the bottom right-hand side of the radar in the weather app, the Wave Weather app. If you don't have it, you're one of the few that does not. That past button shows you live real-time radar data. If it says future or any sort of thing with future in it, it's going to show you this garbage computer model data that's just simply not accurate. All right.
Yeah, and there it is. I finally got mine to play.
So that looks
when
good.
When you press play, you can see it move through, and then the past is now at 8:21. And even when it's stuck on future, it's still on 8:21. But if you play it, then that plays forward sort of the future cast. So that'll take you right past midnight where we see the transition back. So it's the wording of it is a little confusing. Obviously.
We don't control that, but we do have feedback that we give to the app vendor quite a bit about that kind of stuff. So we hope to make some changes here in the not too distant future to make it a bit more intuitive for folks to understand and to use on a day-to-day basis. We know during alert days, during active weather, the app is a lifeline for live streaming like you're seeing here on Wave Weather now. So we want it to be obviously more than just that. It's our forecast, it's radar, it's live streaming, it's so much. And you can also submit your photos and videos.
Yeah, and we always appreciate that because there's nothing better than like what's happening real time. We call it the ground truth. So you mentioned Muhammad earlier.
There's your
sending
video,
in
Muhammad.
The video. So there we have it
you.
from Charlestown, and you can see what that looked like earlier. This was just after 5:30.
And look at the ground there, how the snow's kind of dancing about on the ground. You know, we had
Wind.
some grapple as well, kind of mixed in with this earlier today, and it sounded kind of like sleet hitting your windshield.
Yeah, and there's Trimble County. Kathy sending in that. Again, it reduces visibility when it's coming down because that wind was blowing it. And some areas like Madison, this was earlier in the day, obviously before the sunset, you had a nice coating of snow. Now, the ground is warm, so a lot of that melted. But again, depending on the rate that the snow is falling, easy to get another quick coating or maybe even slightly higher snow amounts. So we could have picked up close to an inch. Maybe a few places, handful or so, above an inch. And that's what we've been saying for the last couple of days. Temperatures have played a key role once again, and we've got some areas below 32 degrees, or at least right at 32.
Yep.
When we have the snow coming down the hardest is when we see the colder temperatures pushing through, because it's dragging some of that cold air aloft down to the surface. We're at 36 now with that little bit of a lull, as mentioned here in Louisville, but areas to our north and south flirting with that freezing mark in many places.
I'm glad to see that North Vernon has gone up a degree from last hour. They sat at 31 degrees for quite some time. It was a little concerning, especially for bridges and overpasses. Getting back to 32 is really helpful there. So that's good sign for the overnight here on the roads.
No question. Now, I was outside doing weather earlier. Not only was it cold because we were in the 30s, but boy, the wind
was
makes it
awful.
Well, I mean, even at 15 miles an hour, it adds about 10 degrees off of the temperature. So
we had gusts up to 40 miles per hour today. So it was like the worst of the worst, right?
I didn't bring my gloves, and I was like, boy, I wish I'd had my gloves.
It's like a weatherman without an umbrella. Kevin Harned without his gloves, right?
I should have had the gloves. They're in the car. I just was too lazy to go get them.
Yeah, that happens.
Anyway, the wind chills are still down there, about 10 degrees below the temperature. So 26 in Louisville. You look around Covington, their feel-like temperature, the wind chill 21.
And that's at CVG Airport, so that's a good sensor there. Yikes, that's cold.
23 North Vernon, 24 Madison, LaGrange, Shelbyville, 23. And in the 20s across a good chunk of Kentucky, too. Now, some areas to the south have seen zero snow at all, not expecting any. Consequently, you're not under any type of advisory. While areas to the north and east of Louisville, you've sort of always been in that focal point for the longest duration of snowfall, and hence the winter weather advisory.
Right, and that's that purple shade you see from Seymour to North Vernon, Madison, Carrollton, Bedford, Kentucky, on down towards Shelbyville and Frankfort here. So this is the area that would have the most impact from the snow tonight, and that's where consequently we've also been seeing some of the highest, snowfall totals. Now they haven't been much, obviously, well less than an inch in most cases here, but this is the zone if you're going to have a few problems over the next couple of hours on bridges and overpasses. That's where you'd want to watch, not necessarily because of the temperature, but because of the snowfall rate. But that snowfall rate, it's already coming down.
Yeah, we've seen that. You got a few pockets of moderate snow in there, but most of it's fairly light. Should stay that way. In fact, once we cross that 9 p.m. time frame into 10, we're going to see this ease up. And the more it eases up, the more the temperature goes up. As that happens, we're going to wind up mixing with a little rain, and ending is just drizzle. So any problems, and I see some folks asking about issues for tomorrow morning. So here's one for you. And Destiny's saying, even though it's not heavy here in Louisville, will the roads be bad tomorrow morning? No, they won't. They may still be somewhat wet, but we're not looking at slick roads for tomorrow from any of this snow that's moving through.
The temperature will actually rise a degree or two overnight at times, so that will really help us out in that department. Should be fine.
And here's one from Ethan.
Hello, Ethan. Anywhere from a half inch to 1 inch already falling in Port Royal, Kentucky, out there in Henry County. Thank you, Ethan. Once again, you're always a loyal reporter from the Henry County area.
We love the storm, well, whatever you want to call them. We always call them storm spotters, but weather watchers, all the people who are very helpful to us during weather that, whether that's severe weather or snow in particular, it's helpful to know what's on the ground.
Yeah, because we don't have eyes everywhere, but you have eyes, so you can tell us what you're seeing, and that helps us tell everybody else what's going on in your neck of the woods. The radar is only so good.
Yeah, right. We've got the radar up, so let's zoom in here in Louisville. We mentioned it was a little blotchy, so not everybody's seeing the steady light to moderate snow, but you can see from the Highlands down to J-Town and Okolona, working your way up Bardstown Road right into Fern Creek. We do have a little blast of heavier heavier snow. And the same story out toward Glen Mary and Middletown and Lake Forest. That's where we see on the eastern side of Jefferson County some of the heavier snow at this point. Not heavy, meaning we're going to wind up with an accumulation outside of a dusting, but that's where it is snowing in the city.
Yeah, so you see some of those spots, especially like Lanesville, Corridon, out to our west, that are not really seeing a whole lot of snow at this time. But of course, the snow kind of ramps up as you work your way toward the east. And that's the nature of this. You know, as we talked about earlier, this isn't just this wall of snow. It's going to have some breaks in it. And oftentimes it takes a lot of time, even if you see snow over you on the radar, for that snow to make it down to ground level. Think about this for just a minute. A snowflake only travels about 25 miles per hour on its trip from the cloud down to the ground. So it can take several minutes for it to happen. So even if you see on the Wave Weather app that it should be snowing over you and it's not yet, give it a couple minutes. See if the snow doesn't make it down to the ground by the time, of course, that a few minutes passes here. I know exactly what Kevin is pulling up and why he's pulling it up right now, because I saw that comment too. And that was what was distracting me before tossed it to me on the radar. I was like, who did have the earliest snow guess? So Ronnie Vidito here, she's asking, so which one called for the earliest snow? A few weeks ago they did that, us, and I don't remember which one. I want to say it was Carson. Now this is 1 inch of snow.
It's important to know the amount.
1 inch in
Louisville.
So nobody's
not going to hit it today.
Nobody has won yet, and nobody will win. But it was me. December 9th, that's what I had there.
Oh, Carson had the latest.
He had the latest one. So we had that inverted, Ronnie. Sorry about that. So yeah, December 9th is when I think Louisville have the first 1 inch snowfall. I might still be right. We'll see what happens.
We'll see. I'm kind of liking the Christmas week myself.
Yeah, that's not bad either.
And it appears as though Brian and Tawana are going to hope for that too.
Oh, yeah, Brian's got it right on Christmas Day.
Of course he does.
I mean, wouldn't that be just idyllic? We haven't had a white Christmas truly around here since 2022, not too long ago. But the last big whopper white Christmas, of course, was back in 2004. Some of us remember that one. That was basically a sleet storm. 5 inches of sleet.
Yeah, that was pouring sleet.
Was awful.
All right, the radar's back up. I want to give you a little radar tour. Some folks asking what's going on in their neighborhood. Obviously, we have some of the light snow, not just here in Louisville, but it stretches from Scottsburg to Charlestown, LaGrange, Shelbyville, Taylorsville. That's the swath that we're looking at. Could get a quick ½ inch of snow out of that, especially with the sunset. Not going to be a big deal. Temperatures in 99% of the places are above freezing. And as the precip eases, the temperature will stay at or even rise a degree or two from where we currently are. I'll show you the regional view just to give you an idea of what's happening. It's this area of low pressure that's sort of responsible for the whole deal. That's wrapping that moisture around it in a counterclockwise fashion. That is where we're pulling some of that moisture from. That area of low pressure situated just across northern parts of Indiana. It's been across Lake Michigan all day long, spinning up snow even with that other area of low pressure. So this is not the bomb cyclone or the atmospheric river that we have been hearing about on the nightly news. But this is an area of low pressure that is pulling down the colder temperatures, interacting with enough moisture in the atmosphere that we do have some light snow falling across the area.
Yeah, I want you to check out right here. And you can see this green developing here. That is rain. So we've got warm air, not only on the western side of this system, but as the snowfall rates decrease and this becomes more of just a very, very light snow scenario, you eliminate the possibility for it to actually be snow when it makes it to the ground. So it'll be rain instead. This is what we call a rate-driven event. That's why we're not expecting anything major out of this system here. Just too much warm air involved.
Yeah, it's the best kind to have, really, because it's pretty to look at. It gets you excited, but it keeps the roads wet, not slick.
And that's pretty typical for November to have a snow like this. You know, we're kind of super early in the season. Typically our first inch of snow, by the way, climatologically speaking in Louisville, is around December 7th or so. For those keeping score. So that's climatology.
Yeah, right. Now, some of your comments are flying by faster than we can actually read them. So I'm going to put up a couple here. It says, what about the heat island effect? How much does that have? Entire county or just mainly downtown? Truthfully, a lot has to do with where the wind is blowing, what direction. So sometimes that can push the warmer temperatures from the heat island itself, which would be the concrete downtown. So we sometimes watch the wind direction because that can actually warm the temperature, or at least the profile in the atmosphere in that zone. But in this scenario, it is across much of Jefferson County. That's why you saw on our snow map, and I'll show you that in a second, we sort of carved out Louisville at maybe getting a dusting because there was no way we could accumulate with the warm air that we hold because of all of the housing, all of the pavement, all of the lack of tree canopy that we have.
And that makes it a challenge for JCPS, by the way. Not that they're going to have a problem tomorrow. None of that, by the way. But when I was a kid, we had like 2 inches of snow at my house on the Spencer County line, just within Jefferson County. Take the school bus into downtown, 0 snow on the ground. So you can have a very wide range of what's going on the roads over such a small area because of that urban heat island.
Yeah, it's a real thing, especially you notice it at night, nighttime temperatures. That's why we always put the suburbs on our forecast, because many times in the city, we may go down, let's just say it's a clear night, we may drop, for random sake, I'll just use 30 degrees. Outlying areas could drop 10 degrees colder than us. So nighttime temperatures especially are sort of skewed by that heat island, namely the airport. And unfortunately, that is the official temperature for the city. So when we're forecasting, otherwise we'd be wrong all the time if we didn't forecast for the airport, because that's what our sort of grade gets compared to.
Right. So the airport, U of L, west side of Jefferson County, even parts of like downtown, like New Albany and Jeffersonville, kind of in that heat island area for those curious.
All right, you see the snow, it's pushing through. We're about halfway, maybe a little more than halfway through this whole event that's been going on since about 5:30, 6 o'clock this afternoon. It's moving to the south, but some places have had no snow at all. Places like Litchfield, Munfordville, you can see hardly anything at all down that way, and you're never forecast to get anything. So our deal through the rest of the evening will be, we'll watch this precip. Let me dial this back so you can see it. Well, we still have snow here now. Notice 8:30, 9, more and more pink showing up. As the rates decrease, the temperatures go up. It only takes a degree or two. That gives us the mix. And now it's a rain-snow mix. No problems. Temperatures, for the most part, all above freezing. And then we continue to dwindle it down. And as that happens, the temperatures go up a couple more degrees. Now, will the temperatures come back down when the precip ends? Yes. So by early tomorrow morning, we'll see temperatures ease back into the lower 30s. Some of you may hit the upper 20s. That's where we may have an isolated slick spot or two. Would be on bridges or overpasses for the most part.
And that would be particularly north and east of Louisville. We're talking Jennings County. We're talking Madison, Carrollton, Trimble County, Kentucky. Those are the spots that might have the most trouble if there were to be any here, but that's a big if at this point. We talked about the urban heat island and how we drew a circle around basically most of Jefferson County here. And this is the reason why, of course, is the warmer air that you experience here in the city. A degree or two makes a big difference in a situation like this. And most of Louisville hasn't really even seen a dusting tonight, whereas areas outlined here in that 1 to 2 inch zone have seen a pretty good coating, pretty good sloppy wet coating, if that. Carrollton, Madison, we've gotten a lot of pictures from Jennings County tonight as well. No surprise there, because you guys are kind of in that zone along with the Cincinnati, Indianapolis, and Dayton area to see kind of the most out of this storm. So if you're here in Louisville, kind of the loser, unfortunately.
Yeah, it seems like that's the way it works around here, doesn't it? I mean, we're always walking away disappointed.
The snow displacement zone is here in Louisville.
It's like
big donut.
The donut.
Yeah.
We appreciate Kayla saying thank you. It takes a whole team, and Brian was on early today with the blog, and before him, Tawana was in again on Sunrise, making sure everybody knew what was happening. Anna, saying they just have a dusting in Highview. That's what most of us are going to see, a dusting. Areas north and east up to an inch. There will be very few of you that see between that 1 and 2 inch mark.
And it'll be melting so quickly, even if you did get that cumulatively, you wouldn't see it all at once. So that's kind of the gotcha on that one.
Yeah, and there's Laura saying they're barely spitting snow right now south of Corydon. Yeah. So as you work your way from Corydon to Middletown, those areas, very little snow. We have a lot of comments coming in. We've sort of talked about the snow, winter weather advisory north and east, our snow totals on the map. We have the forecast for next week coming up as well. So I want to give you the update on that. That's going to include Thanksgiving. It's going to include a busy travel day, and it's going to include a pretty hefty rain chance to start the week. So we're going to do that. We'll take a quick break, but when we come back, we will tackle the Thanksgiving holiday. Stay with us. All right, we're back with you here. We're going to roll through some of the maps for next week. So appreciate everybody jumping in. That gives us a way to just get our computers back in line here so we know what the graphics are going to look like. You can still see some of that snow spitting outside in New Albany this hour. The next big weather maker as we pass by tonight comes our way early next week, Ryan. And this one has the potential to bring a few showers and thunderstorms with it. So a hint that we're going to warm back up. Anytime we start talking thunder, sorry, I keep interrupting.
No, you're good.
Thunder this time of year, we wind up having some warmer temperatures.
Right. When we get up to 60 or so, you start to get into that zone when thunder is an issue here. And that's what we'll see for this system on Monday. This is not going to be a super heavy rainmaker, but we'll have enough of that warm air for some thunder. I don't think severe weather is going to be involved in this. The latest data from the AI sort of severe weather long range data that we sometimes look at here, not super conclusive on severe weather. So for folks traveling early next week, keep it in mind. We've got some rain that'll be on the radar at times. Not a huge deal, but man, even when it just drizzles, everybody likes to play demolition derby on the roads around here. So that's why we like to.
I've decided it doesn't even matter if it's precipitating. Like if the sun is out or if the skies are cloudy, night or day. It's like we've lost our minds. We cannot drive.
This crash was due to clear skies. Like that's what the police report will say.
I'm used to like driving, taking it to the minute, like I needed to be there 2 minutes ago.
Really? No, not Kevin G. Harned. No.
And I'm like, oh no, another fender bender on I-65. Like, put your phone down. Let's drive. And then I become one of those people, like causing the accident.
One of those, who you call those people?
The ones that are causing the accidents. Everybody knows. All right. So we do have the next big weather maker in sight. I'm telling on myself. Yeah. This is never good. We have the chance for rain, thunder, could have some delays. Probably won't be an alert day on Monday unless the severe weather chance ramps up. But we will be, it doesn't look at this point, but we're days away. So that's why we sort of say we'll keep an eye on that. Tuesday is the biggest air travel day.
It is.
And then, of course, we hit the big driving day on Wednesday. So let's talk about this because there is yet another rain chance. And we all know that with any rain, the travel gets impacted. If it looks like we're going to have rain across the region on Wednesday, that will become an alert day simply because people can't drive in the rain.
I was looking at this earlier, and it looks like the timing on this will be a bit late. So if you're going to step things off in the morning, it'll be dry on Wednesday, most likely. It's in the afternoon and the evening when that rain chance starts to go up. This is so far away from now that we can't give you like an hour by hour look at this, but just know that as you travel west, especially, so if you're like on 64 west towards St. Louis, you're going to hit the rain at some point, especially heading toward the evening there on Wednesday. The big travel hubs like Atlanta, New York, Boston, and Charlotte there, they look to be mainly dry on Wednesday. So air travel on Wednesday, as long as you're heading east or northeast, should be fine. I don't think there's going to be much of a problem there. So it looks good, kind of early and to the east, Kevin, but Thanksgiving itself,
Yeah, if you go west late Wednesday, you're going to run into that rain for sure, and probably north too. And then Thanksgiving Day, we still have some of the rain chances. You know, that's the thing about Thanksgiving around here. Well, even Christmas within the last few years, you can kind of get anything. We've had very warm Thanksgivings the past couple of years where you could slip outside. Seems like last year was very warm on Thanksgiving.
I believe you're correct.
Right.
Yeah. Well, last year, like the whole winter and late fall was like a blowtorch. So you can say that for any day, pretty much. Yeah.
It's always good in the holidays because, you know, you have so many people packed into the house. It's like, okay, get outside, kids, and run around.
Open the windows because it's 80 degrees.
Run some of that pecan pie off. And anyway, when it's nice and warm, get outside. This year, 40s and a scattered rain chance doesn't make for the best day to get outside. So
yeah, some of the data a little earlier this week was trying to hint at some snow on the north side of this, closer to I-70. So we'll still watch that, especially for like our northern counties. But we're getting to a point where this is starting to coalesce around a cold rain for Thanksgiving, which is just fantastic. And it may be heavy at times,
which is an indication that rain chance at 40% may go up.
Yes.
So that's something to watch in our forecast. The confidence that we have right now in the data is not high enough for us to push it up. But if the next couple of rounds of data keep coming in, then obviously we'll kick that to a 60% chance. And we'll have to, so if you see that going up, you know, we're building our confidence toward a wetter solution. Don't you hate these spam calls? I get them night and day. It drives me crazy.
3 a day right now. One went off during my alarm going off at the same time. So my phone was making 2 different noises simultaneously, and I just about lost my mind. They left a voicemail too.
Oh, they did?
It was a very nice robot.
It was
It was like, hey, we're from the tax
We should
center.
probably just listen here.
Oh, gosh. Oh, thank goodness that's over.
I was just going to play it. We could all talk to them. I used to answer them all, and then I quickly realized, I was like, you know, they're just seeing if you answer so they know if it's a good number.
Then you're on the call list, not the do not call list at that point. Like, they answer.
I figured, I mean, the reasoning behind that was I thought if I answer it and keep them on the line long enough, then they wouldn't have a chance to bother other people.
Which is fair point, yeah.
But then constantly I was getting called like night and day, every minute of the day. It was really
like, if you'll listen to us even in a fake way, maybe we'll tell you something you like. Who knows? And with AI and all this robotic stuff coming out now too, making all these calls, it's like they're going to have like fake people on the other end of the line here at some point soon trying to sell you stuff. Oh, that's fun, right?
Oh, great.
Okay.
So we know what's taking our place. Robots.
Nope.
All right, let's jump. We've certainly gone off on a tangent thanks to whoever was calling from wherever. Let's talk about Thanksgiving, which we did. And then, of course, the day after Black Friday with all the sales. Do people still get out and go to the doorbuster sales? Like we used to do that, but now it's like Amazon pretty much bust down my door.
COVID kind of changed how all that works, but I don't know if we're kind of trending back toward the early mornings.
Well, I'm curious. So if you're in here, chime in. Do you go out on Friday or do you not?
Because we don't know, like, if we really need to hit hard, like the 5 a.m. forecast on Friday or not. Maybe you're just baking cookies at home at 10 o'clock in the morning.
Perfect, doesn't it?
Which is probably what I'll be doing, because that sounds a lot nicer than, elbow to elbow with everybody else trying to get something cheap.
It was always kind of fun for a few years. Like,
they had giveaways.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, you get to like Best Buy or Walmart. I mean, you'd be crazy not to try to go after the, $100 TV, right? That would typically cost you much more than that.
Some of the department stores like JCPenney back in the day, we're talking 20 years ago, would give out these little like Mickey Mouse snow globes. And I still have them set up from when we went out on Black Friday. And then one store gave out like Cracker Jacks as well. So like they were trying to get people in the door with free stuff. That nothing's free anymore. Not that it was before, but
Well, I'm glad to know I'm not alone. I'm working on Black Friday. So
thank you, Kevin.
Yes. You're off both days.
I am. Yeah.
How'd you score that?
Very lucky this year. Trying to pay my dues around here.
Let's see.
Ashley says they go out later in the day. I'm not a morning person. See, I feel like that's kind of the trend. I think generationally, at least, a lot of shoppers
we no longer have morning people.
I think COVID and work from home changed a lot of that. I think culture and society have evolved a little bit here. I think it's interesting. Yeah. to say the least here.
All right, let's talk about this.
Okay, here we go,
Gary
Gary.
says,
Yep.
I don't even know what it said. I just popped it up.
All right, it says, please use caution when calling an alert day. When they're overused and become common, people will become complacent and numb to them, and the true alert days will be overlooked. This is just my 2 cents. Thanks.
All right. Well, Gary, let us talk about it because you probably noticed we've had more alert days. I'm going to be real transparent about it. We had research done. People responded to the alert days. They wanted to know when weather was going to impact their plans. So it was more about impact than necessarily severe weather. So you're seeing us flag more days as alert days when the impact is there. Today would be a good example. We knew we weren't going to get a lot of measurable snow. Now, maybe it's not a good example since the Weather Service fired off an advisory because that would sort of kick us into our criteria. So we do have criteria set for every weather condition, but we in turn, after the research that came back, created criteria for impact. Precipitation that could foul up a commute. So moderate rain or in some cases rain at the peak times for the morning or afternoon commute, you're going to see alert days come out. It's only typically for a small part of the day. Very few days outside of a winter storm would be flagged an alert day for any length of time more than a couple of hours. So for instance, today, we kicked the alert day in at 3 p.m. because northern parts of the viewing area were forecast to see snow begin around that time, which happened. And then we modified it within the last hour. So it was going to go until 3 a.m. We've dialed that back to midnight, just after our 11 o'clock news, because by that point, the temperature, the rate of precipitation will be down, the temperature up, and we'll see a mix. So I just want to explain that that's why you're seeing probably more alert days. We've always been a sort of a progressive station in terms of delivering what the viewer wants. And we'll see how that goes. And, you know, if it winds up where it's more negative than positive, then obviously we make the change. But that's why you're seeing what you're seeing.
So we're always responsive to you guys here. So let us know what you think, all right? We want to hear from you here, including from our friend Todd Richmond, who says you can alert me when we get back to sunny and
Todd,
72.
is Todd on Facebook? Is that what the
Todd's on
platform?
Facebook,
Mr. Facebook.
Yeah.
I'm just going to call him Mr. Facebook.
He's always on there.
Yes. He owes me a meeting, by the way.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes. And he's always on our live streams too. So thank you, Todd. Really appreciate
He
it.
lives in Facebook. It's his house.
Some people do. Yeah.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that.
yeah.
I'm just saying that's the only place I see him. So he must.
Oh, I see.
Must
He
reside
lives on
there.
your Facebook.
Yes.
I got you. Anna says, we gave up Black Friday. All right. Because we had, the question earlier about does anybody actually go out for Black Friday? Angela says, nope, I stay home. Did the Black Friday shopping thing one year, like in 2004, but it was 20 degrees with a sub-zero wind chill.
Oh,
Never again. Yeah,
right.
That would probably sour my opinion of it as well. So yeah, that's kind of the bottom line on the Black Friday there.
All right, and back to the alert day. Darlene is saying, what about calling it impact day, not alert day? Should be different levels. Well, we tried the different level thing. That became real confusing to people. We had in fact, it was sort of subliminal, but we did have yellow and red alert days. One was more serious than the other. That was just very confusing to people. So they let us know right away that didn't work. So what we've decided is when it is an alert day, you're going to get the information of when it's for, so the time frame, and the sort of reasoning behind it, the impact or the amounts of what we're going to get. So that way you know. Now, impact, we could call it impact weather alert, but then we would be a competing station, or we could call them just impact days and we'd be that other station.
So
everybody has these things now. We're proud to say that we were the first to call them alert days.
Yep.
And we've been fine-tuning our process of doing them ever since. And, with time, as with everything, comes change. And we're constantly changing. Should we ever not be changing, then we've become stale and old and static.
We've always said we want to do things the right way around here. So we're always going to keep that front of mind whenever we make any of these changes. So keep that in mind when you are seeing these alert days here. These are for you. These are based on feedback from you guys.
Yeah, we appreciate the feedback. That's for sure. And that goes for in these, online chats that we're doing here too, because it helps. It makes sense.
It really does, because you can tell us what you're thinking and, of course, what you are seeing out your window, which is super important on a day like this.
I like to think that the populace would like different levels of alert days and that they could understand it. But clearly, that wasn't what came back to us.
Just to be super transparent here, because I think we all kind of agreed in the weather department. We were like, oh, we can't have 2 levels? Oh, shoot. Okay, well, we'll adapt. We'll do what you guys want us to do.
Yeah.
It happens. That's fine. Oh, yeah.
Now, this is not an oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
No.
Oh, yeah.
Snow on the ground.
Oh, we have the ability to show that too, by the way, with
great.
this little
Yeah.
web browser function.
Well,
so.
that probably just broke. I'm sorry, but that function just broke right with this hammer in my left hand.
General Larry Platt.
That was funny. So for folks that don't remember that,
It's on YouTube.
Sir Kodo 51 brings up
On
something
YouTube.
John and I did. Yeah, so he's been
Right on the
browsing around
platform.
YouTube.
Yep.
That was just a wacky thing John Belsky and I did many
2007.
years ago,
2007.
where Colonel Larry Platt was on
Yeah.
one of the nighttime shows, and he was singing. Was it
Pants on the
Pants
ground.
on the ground?
Pants on the
And-
ground.
and we
Pants on the
just
ground.
adapted it to
Acting
Snow
like
on the
a fool
ground,
with your
which
pants
was
on.
very bad. Very, yes.
This was in the era when everyone, do you remember like almost 20 years ago? God, I sound old now. When like everybody was wearing their
You
pants
are old.
too low, like below where it should be. And thankfully most people don't do
Pretty
that
much like
anymore.
off of their butt.
Like, yeah. So it was an older
And what do you
gentleman who
mean
was
by,
singing.
do you remember when? Like I walk downtown, I still see it. I'm like, well, there's.
It's not as pervasive as it used to be, but it's still around.
Yeah.
It's definitely still around. I don't see it in the schools anymore. When I was in school, it was everywhere. And now when I do school visits, I'm like, okay, everybody's back to wearing their pants normally now. Anyway, it was a song about not wearing your pants too low. Because that's where we've gone to on this live stream.
Right.
I just can't believe that.
Why not?
left my mouth.
Weather's not causing any
Oh,
problems, so we might
goodness.
as well.
Yeah, here we are.
talk
Weather
about
after dark, right?
Pants.
Here we go.
All right. What other questions? Anybody have anything else before we jump off here? I've just popped the 10-day forecast up so you can see it's a little unsettled next week.
Yeah.
We mentioned the Monday deal. You see the Wednesday, Thursday deal. That ends with a few snowflakes and colder temperatures by the following weekend. That's something that has been showing up in the data for quite some time, is that
Yes.
cold air coming in.
Mhm.
So might we see the bulk of our winter on the
Mhm.
front end this year?
Which I would like, by the way, because I mean,
Awesome.
who doesn't love like a holiday season with snow, and then you can kind of be like off for January and February from
Well,
that would be awesome.
If we could guarantee that, I would take that.
Yeah. So like around the 1st of December, everybody, keep that in mind. Keep checking back the Wave Weather app here and our 10-day earliest alert, of course, on our live streams and on TV too, if you're local to us here. That forecast will get potentially increasingly interesting. We'll see what the signals do with that.
Well, there's Laura. She's a dear friend. John, well, thank you. You're awesome, too. Everybody in here is awesome. We wouldn't even be here without you folks. So,
Correct.
it's
Keep the lights on.
only
literally, in
reason we're
guys.
here.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate everybody tuning in. Weather Geek, I'm glad we're not the only weather geeks on here.
There's quite a bit of them on YouTube, if you haven't noticed lately.
There are a lot on
Yes.
YouTube, and we're on there too. So we like to geek out with the weather and provide a little comic relief at times, sometimes at the expense of our own selves.
Correct. Yes. Self-deprecating humor is what we do best.
That's right. All right. Well, we'll wrap things up. We appreciate everybody jumping on. We just, because it was an alert day and we wanted to jump on and let you know there weren't going to be very many problems. Keep an eye on that thermometer. If it hits the 20s and the bridge looks wet, use a little caution. But most areas should be A-OK. So that is the latest from the Wave Storm Tracking team here. I'll have another update for you. We'll get just now starting to get some of the new data in within the next half hour. So by the time that comes in at 11 o'clock, we'll have an update. The alert day will be fading out by that point, and we'll certainly have more for tomorrow as we look ahead to next week. A busy, busy week. Already Friday tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow is Friday, and we're a week from Thanksgiving today, which is weird
That's
to
crazy.
say.
Yeah.
Where is this year going? It is so fast.
Well, and it was quiet for so long, and now all of a sudden it's like, boom, slap you in the face. We're like, oh,
I guess we were overdue. You know, last winter was like a nothing burger, so we'll see what happens this winter.
I can go for another one of those nothing burgers.
That sounds pretty good right now. And an actual burger, too, while we're at it.
Yes, it does sound good. Yeah, I ate in the company kitchen here.
Which is like our vending area, by the way, at work.
Yes. And I probably should apologize because we're not that far away as the screen may make it look. But I had the chicken salad sandwich.
Okay.
There's one thing I can't eat well because of my stomach doesn't like onions.
Oh, yeah.
And so like I can
Onions.
smell them on my breath here. So I'm sure you can too. But I'm like, whew, I don't know about that chicken salad. It
It's a little heavy on the onions.
It was like, yeah, I didn't know that until I was like 3 bites in. And then I was like, well, okay.
I don't eat chicken salad. So like I have
What?
Why? Mayonnaise.
Oh, you don't eat mayonnaise?
I don't, yeah. Just aioli is fine, like a nice garlic aioli, but like a mayonnaise is like, can't stand that.
Really?
I've never liked it. It's kind of runs in the family too.
Oh, really?
We've never cooked.
So what do you
it
put
all.
on like your sandwich? Mustard?
Don't like mustard either. So yeah, kind of a
Just a dry sandwich?
yeah. Or like, oil and vinegar is fine too. So like if I go to like a sub sandwich shop and they do oil and vinegar, salt and pepper.
Yeah, but like if you're making a ham sandwich, what do you put on it?
Ham and cheese and lettuce and tomato.
Dry.
Yeah, done.
Really?
I guess I'm weird. Yeah, that's how.
Well, I'm not saying it's weird. I'm just curious. Like,
it's a lot more than
seems
Brian
very
Good puts on his sandwiches, which is a lot less than I put on mine.
All right. Well,
Love you, Brian.
now we'll just bring in the whole team, right? And let's just bash what everybody eats.
Because apparently that's what we do, here, right?
We are picky eaters around here. I will say that.
Picky to degrees. Some folks like a lot more in one food department versus another. Like I like a lot of ethnic food, for instance. I love that stuff. Yeah.
Right. I'm a big sandwich guy. I love soups and sandwiches. I love that. Wintertime. It's kind of a good wintertime food too.
Yeah, it is.
So I'll have to remember that because when I bring in lunch for the team, I always bring in sandwiches.
Well, I love sandwiches. They're always perfect because they never come dressed with like liquid on them. So I'm like perfect with that. Yeah, it's always been good.
All right.
He brings in the best sandwiches.
I thought maybe somebody would chime in about that. But no one is chiming in. Have we lost everybody? Actually, we've gained
more people.
Maybe we should talk more about food than I sort of learned this with the secrets of bluegrass chefs.
Oh, yes.
Maybe food is more important than the weather at times.
Oh, that's hysterical. Yeah. Oh, good grief. Meanwhile, Todd Richmond's trying to rag on all the XTV.
Oh, yeah. He's bringing them all in.
Craig Edwards. That's a name I haven't heard in a while. Yes.
All right. As we say goodbye, we're seeing that it is stopping to snow. Sandra says it has stopped snowing in Jeffersonville.
Thank you,
Real-time report there. Oh, and there's one thing better than sandwiches and soup for me, and that is ice cream. God love you.
Love ice cream. Kevin loves ice cream.
More than anybody.
365.
You better
366 on a leap year.
Which is why I can barely fit in my suits. All right. We have to say goodbye. We'll see you back at 11 o'clock.
See you guys.